Have you guys heard of this Kendrick Lamar guy? Turns out he's a rapper and he's got some stuff to say.
This rap beef between Drake and Kendrick started 5 months ago to my estimation when Drake came out with the song First Person Shooter featuring J. Cole.
There was this drought of diss tracks where I think a lot of them that were coming out were just unbearably cringe. It was like Redditors writing poetry back and forth. But now, with Drake versus Kendrick, holy cow.
Made his own voice in them type cell, they solo K. Everybody wanna be demons till they get chipped by your throwaway.
Kendrick Lamar and Aubrey Drake Graham, two of the most mythical people within the rap industry, are now going head to head. I know I'm a little bit late to this story. If anything, we're kind of just like poking the little corpse left over, which is probably Drake's, let's be fair. Now, Kendrick Lamar needs no introduction. He is one of the most highly regarded rap artists of all time, and he's the only musician outside of classical and jazz to be awarded the Pulitzer Prize. The only thing I can compare the Pulitzer Prize to, you know how YouTubers can get like 100k sub trophy, a million sub trophy? You know when PewDiePie got that like really special ruby one and it's a bro fist? That's the Pulitzer Prize. It's the thing that everyone wants. And a lot of his music is held in high regard because it focuses a lot on social awareness and mental health. Now, should I really be sat here doing a video breaking down Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef? No. Do I have any musical knowledge on Kendrick Lamar and Drake? No. I mean, look at my Spotify profile. I just listen to Young Lean, Blade, and Echo 2K on repeat. I have that kind of weaponized autism where I can just listen to the same 3 artists from birth until death. Some would call it a superpower. I call it the Rock of Sisyphus. Believe me, I was not going to talk about this topic at all until my chat absolutely harassed me one stream to listen to one of Kendrick's diss tracks on Drake.
Wait, what's that smell? Oh, it's his commission, man.
So yeah, I'm uneducated, uninitiated, and you can just call me a grifter. But to be fair, I saw Hassan and Ludwig do it as well, so I think I can get away with it. Now, Drake needs no introduction. Certified lover boy, Canadian actor, singer, and rapper. Now, it's funny I say actor because a lot of people didn't actually know that Drake was, you know, an actor. Well, that usually comes from his steak-sponsored streams where he pretends to actually act like he's caring about anything he's doing and not just collecting a huge paycheck.
I don't even know how to work it. Like, just keep clicking that.
Now, Drake initially got his start as Jimmy Brooks on Degrassi. You know that meme picture that everyone was throwing around of Drake in the wheelchair? That was where it was from. That's the origin. But afterwards, he basically started pursuing music in 2006. Now, his first 3 albums banged because each individual one always had at least a top 10 single. And Drake overall is statistically one of the highest selling artists of all time. Now, one thing I've noticed for people in industries that are the most popular, they do get memed on the most. So for example, like all these memes you see of Drake, like Drake be the kind of guy that would like, you know, smell a pie in the other room and float towards it like a Looney Tunes character. And I mean, he really hasn't helped himself because some of his music has ended up being a little bit more corporate. Like for example, Tootsie Slide. That was a song that was basically just trying to like shill a TikTok dance, hoping to go viral. It's basically the equivalent of Aiden Ross pretending to do drugs on stream just so he acts all like, oh, it's really got to me, guys. So people can clip it and he goes viral. But again, Drake's accolades cannot be ignored. 13 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. A joint #1 record for the most amount of singles sold by a single artist. Which, funnily enough, was actually tied with Michael Jackson. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. The Drake train never ends, including the most top 10 singles and the most charted songs from 2018 to 2023. Drake also held the record for the most simultaneously charted songs in 1 week. I know a lot of people are going to go into this video hating Drake, and I'm not trying to dissuade that fact, but I'm just trying to communicate that he's one of the most successful and richest artists in the entire world. But there's one problem. Once you reach the top of the ladder, where do you actually go? You're no longer climbing this ladder of artistic passion to, you know, make the kind of content you want to put out there, write the lyrics. It becomes commercialized, and you know, you're only really putting more content out there to pay the bills. Maybe you can get a new, you know, $250,000 bed frame, or more importantly, to stay on the top so no one else bumps you off, because the only thing worse than getting bored at the top is someone eventually bumping you. And throughout the years, even though Drake is one of the most successful people in the music industry, a lot of people have gravitated to still incredibly successful music artists, but nowhere near the level of success that Drake has, like for example Kendrick. Now Now, one thing that's really common, especially in rap, is, you know, bravado, like, you know, flexing the stuff that you got, the ice on your wrist, the money, the cars, because usually a lot of people in the industry, they come from nothing. So when they feel that they've got like a lot of material wealth, they need to flex it. That is just part of the industry naturally, but it's definitely something that Drake seems to do a lot more than others, to the point where it just comes off as like really artificial. And that's where a lot of the animosity has came from with Kendrick and Kendrick's fan base. Now, Drake's character and reputation has already got him like a pretty bad rep with a lot of people in the rap industry. So to fully understand everything, so I don't just say the entire video, Drake le bad, Kendrick le good, I gotta law master a little bit and talk about previous things that Drake has done that are le bad. So I want to talk about two other beefs that Drake had before Kendrick even got involved, involving Megan Thee Stallion and Pusha T. So I would like to take you back to the mythical year of 2018. This was definitely a time to be alive. This is when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, the first Spider-Man game came out on the PS5, and was also the year where one of the best films ever made came out, Gotti, starring John Travolta.
Let me tell you something. I started in a fucking gutter.
It's 4 out of 10 on IMDb. So in that year, while beefing with Pusha T and Kanye West, Drake dropped a diss track, and this is called Duppy Freestyle. Now, the entire point of this diss track was to basically refute claims that were like levied against Drake. Like Pusha T did a track called Infrared and basically claimed that Drake had like ghostwriters and stuff, as well as calling Pusha T an evil spirit, hence the name of the track, Duppy. I'll be honest though, claiming someone as popular as Drake has ghostwriters is kind of like saying water is wet. Next, they're probably going to make the earth-shattering discovery that people like JoJo Siwa actually lift their music as well. I'm sure you've seen that online. Like, she did this song called Karma, and it was basically found out that it was a song that Miley Cyrus had wrote for her, but like didn't even end up using, so put it in the recycling bin. And then JoJo Siwa's team basically plucked it out, gave permission a little bit later, and just basically reused the song. Honestly, I try to avoid talking about JoJo Siwa as much as I can, but that one clip of her at the red carpet is...
Dream guest on my podcast? Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, let's spice things up. One of my exes. Oh?
Dream guest on my podcast? Let's spice it up a bit. One of my exes.
And then 4 days later, Pusha T dropped a diss track called The Story of Adidon. And this basically just addressed Drake directly. Now, the funny thing is about this diss track, it actually reuses the music that was from Jay-Z's song, The Story of OJ. And obviously it goes without saying OJ is not someone that was liked at all. I mean, if he was still alive, you can go onto any one of his Twitter posts and he would have been ridiculed. Now, this diss track is really, really important because it brought new law to the rap community that Drake actually had a son called Adonis. And this is a kid that Drake had, but he purposely chose to keep him away from the limelight. And in the diss track as well, Pusha T goes after some of Drake's family members and also members of the OVO sound label, which, believe me, will be very, very relevant later. Now, ever since being forced in the limelight, Drake has taken full responsibility of Adonis, even setting him up with a production company to film his own music video, Adonis My Man Freestyle. Which is, it's one of the songs of all time. However, in 2022, there was a diss track dropped by Drake and 21 Savage. The same 21 Savage that got paid to go on an Aiden Russ stream where he basically scammed him out of a card game, by the way. They released Circo Loco. And this is where Drake throws some shade at Megan Thee Stallion. In particular, their altercation with Tory Lanez, who's another Canadian rapper and singer, not Drake. He's basically claiming that Megan just lied entirely about an incident where she was shot, because there were claims going around at the time that she was shot in the foot by Tory. And Drake is basically saying, nah, you made it up. You got no receipts. You're a liar. But keep in mind, this has actually been debunked. And yes, Tory did shoot Megan Thee Stallion in her foot. So obviously that wasn't a good look for Drake because he's making these diss tracks and basically just flat out lying about things. And then in 2024, it finally happened. Megan clapped back with Hiss. You know what's weird? I said Hiss and it actually unlocked a core memory of when Leafy was here, was still on YouTube, and he was like asking people to do like, you know, Hiss in the comment section. Oh, that's an old memory. That is an old memory I just unlocked right there. Now, keep in mind that Hiss diss track was actually more aimed at Nicki Minaj, and that spawned some god tier beef, which personally, I think is actually even more funny than the Kendrick and Drake beef, because Nicki Minaj responded with a track called Bigfoot.
You eat babies. Everyone knows that.
Which has pretty much gone down in history as one of the worst diss tracks of all time. Now, again, like I said, look at me. Do I listen to rap? Hell no. With this weak jawline, this hairstyle, you could just tell that I listen to Blade's Echo 2K pretty much on repeat. But even I caught wind of how terrible this Nicki Minaj response was. Mostly because towards the end of the song, she's just like mumbling to herself, almost like it just went completely off script.
Pussy girl them too.
And the top comment on the diss track at the minute, which perfectly encapsulates the video, this perfectly captures the feeling of being trapped on public transportation with a crackhead. But what's important about Megan's original diss track before Nicki Minaj had a complete meltdown was this line that she threw shade at Drake for. These hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes mad at Megan's law. Jesus, me reading that out, you can just tell like all I listen to is Aphex Twin. God, I love sparkling water. You know, you drink it and it like burns your eyes, like your eyes feel like they're watering. It's actually it's the best feeling in the world, man. Now, for context, that wasn't just a throwaway line because Megan's law is an actual law in the US. And it basically states that law enforcement has to disclose public information about registered sex offenders. Now, Nicki Minaj in particular took a lot of offense to this, mostly because her husband, Kenneth Petty, is an actual registered sex offender. I'll be honest, I have to make a concession. I listened to a lot of Nicki Minaj as a kid, in particular the Starships music video. It was probably because she was basically just there on the beach shaking her ass the entire time, or as today's generation would say, rizzing her gyat. God, she was like 22 when she made that, eh? I'm 27 tomorrow. Fuck. I'm actually 27 tomorrow. Bro, it's so over for me. And even though Nicki Minaj took most of the heat away because everyone assumed the line was directed at her, a lot of people thought, could this be directed towards Drake and his company, OVO Sound? Now, with all of that law built, we can finally jump into the main case of Kendrick versus Drake. Now, in October 2023, Drake and J. Cole... I'm really sorry. Like, again, I should not be talking about rap music at all, but when I think of J. Cole, the only thing I think of is this really obscure meme of Pennywise the Clown saying J. Cole is down here, and they just cement off the entire street. Wait, I'll see if I can find it. J. Cole. J. Cole. J. Cole doesn't make music. J. Cole is down here and they just cement off the entire street. Oh, man. Oh, God, that's funny. So Drake and J. Cole collaborated on the track First Person Shooter. Not to be confused with the Ray William Johnson band Your Favorite Martian, who made a first person song called Boom Headshot. Now, this track they do is basically both of them kind of like discussing their impact on rap culture. Now, Drake and J. Cole obviously, you know, stroke their own ego a bit and just go into how successful they are. But then J. Cole throws some lyrics out basically saying that other rappers start beef with them to kind of siphon their fame, to leech off them. And this is also where J. Cole claims, due to his discography, that he is considered one of the greats alongside Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Here's some of the lyrics, for example. I'd read them out on screen, but I'd rather just show them because I looked at my Spotify right now and my most recent plays are 100 Gex, LaRue, and TV Girl, so it's probably best I don't say anything. Although I do like the inclusion of the Spider-Man meme, the infamous meme where they're all pointing at each other that was even used in like the most recent animated Spider-Man film. But in that Spider-Man meme, he's basically referring to himself, Drake, and Kendrick, saying that they're like the three greats. And then also going on to say that he's in his own league as well. Now, unsurprisingly, Kendrick did not agree with this comparison whatsoever. And then fast forward a little bit to March 2024. Now, 2024, even though the year isn't over, has been an amazing year. So much has came out. We've had so many games like... well, all right, ignore that. We've had some great films this year. Like, for example, Madam Web and Roadhouse and... Argyle. Wait, did Argyle come out this year? No, it did. Okay. Oh, Jesus. There's been nothing this year. It's already May. But anyway, in this year, Kendrick actually appeared on Future and Metro's booming track Like That. And this is where Kendrick straight up responds to J. Cole, basically saying like, no. We're not a three. I'm at the top. You guys are the peasants. Again, here are the lyrics. Not going to read it all out verbatim because the video is already white enough. But you can basically see that Kendrick is calling out First Person Shooter, the song, by name, and even says that he's basically at the top alone. He also makes this weird reference to the 1983 novel by Stephen King, Pet Sematary, basically implying that they're dogs and they're going to be put out and buried in the cemetery. He also mentions Drake's recent album, For All the Scary Dogs, which is where the first person track actually appeared in. And he basically said that he's going to take his K, AK-47 for the uninitiated. And then he goes on about Drake and J. Cole's 9, basically saying that he's going to bring an AK and Drake and J. Cole are just like doing an eco round. And then obviously connecting it back to a K9, like a dog, a K, an AK, and a 9, a 9mm. Kendrick basically saying that, don't worry, it's just me. and I will blow you out of the game, no problem. I don't know if any of you saw where world-famous streamer Jinxie went against the Sidemen, KSR's best mates, and Jinxie absolutely demolished them, mostly because they were basically learning impaired because they had no idea how to play the game or that even wall banging was a thing. That is basically what Kendrick is playing in his head, how the match is going to go down. And then shortly after that diss track dropped, J. Cole dropped another song. Now, this is called 7 Minute Drill, and it's basically just a straight up response to Kendrick. Going on to say that Lamar's work has fallen off and he's better than him. Also makes fun of Lamar's height and stature. Honestly, the claiming of falling off basically has no validity whatsoever, because, you know, every single artist, when they make music or any kind of content creator or just anyone in media, they're always going to have highs and lows. But I do like how falling off is just repeatedly used as this one way to try to get under someone's skin, because believe me, no one that has any kind of presence online likes being told that they fall off. It really does get under their skin. I mean, thankfully, me, for example, I've been told that I've fell off so many times that I just don't even take it literally anymore. Like, I have had that used so many times, it's rewired my brain, so I just don't even address it as an insult now. Almost like it's some kind of Chinese water torture, like a droplet hitting my head over and over with the insult saying, fell off, fell off, fell off. I mean, look at Lessons in Meme Culture. He made a video talking about why is everyone commenting on videos saying fell off, and he blames me for that. He says it's my fault. Well, not my fault, but basically my community. Now, I don't agree with the lyrics at all, but it's still pretty funny that someone else is saying that The Simpsons fell off, because I'll be honest, like at some point, I might do a video on how The Simpsons fell off, because that needs to be studied. I've seen so many videos comparing like all the IMDb ratings of Simpsons episodes and how we're going into like the double-digit seasons, and it just looks awful. But yeah, it's pretty obvious that J. Cole is basically trying to say, you were good at one point, but now you're kind of falling off. Your albums are dwindling in quality, which again, I feel it's this claim that like anyone on earth can say about someone popular, and then you like people be like, oh, I haven't listened to that guy in like 5 seconds. Yeah, no, it's true. He did fall off. Basically going on to say how Kendrick's first album, Section 80, is a classic, but then other albums like Good Kid and Mad City basically got too much hype for their worth. I like how at one point he also implies that To Pimp a Butterfly was basically peak Kendrick, and he's only doing that because you know that not a single person on earth will ever say To Pimp a Butterfly is a bad album. So he's trying to sneakily diss Kendrick and change the narrative while also like sucking him off because he has to. And then obviously throwing a bit of shade saying Mr. Morale and Big Stepper was a flop. Now, what's really funny about this diss is later on, Drake actually misinterpreted some of the tracks, and this then caused Mr. Morale to jump back on the charts almost 2 years after it released. So yeah, nice one, Drake. I do not know how you could be so incompetent that you're basically blowing up your biggest hater. I like to imagine like the Joker is in a room and there's 2 buttons. It's like kill Batman, make Batman famous, and he just accidentally slips and presses the famous one. Now, making fun of Kendrick Lamar's height, here are the lyrics. Now, he's basically just saying that Kendrick is a manlet because reportedly he's like 5'5", 5'6". And as we know, if you really want to insult someone, if you want to go for the jugular, you always do it about the things they can't change. You know, if we bully someone for being fat and then they lose weight, we can't bully them anymore. And then if you bully someone who's at a certain height, like that's it. What are you gonna do? Like wear Tom Cruise platform shoes? It's really funny as well because like, especially with men, height is such a constant thing. I remember when I was in my teens, seeing a bunch of ironic height charts going around, and it was basically showing things like if you're 6'7", that's like, it's a pretty decent height. And if you're 6'5", that is apparently average. It's classic stuff like that just to mess with men's egos. Like, for example, you know, people with small wrists, you can't really make your wrist bigger. So if people have small wrists, they call themselves like a wristlet or a wrist cell. It's like, oh, it's over for me. I can't put on any muscle because I'm a wristlet. It's my genes, guys. But obviously, it's something that Kendrick has just like, you know, never really been concerned about at all. He's just trying to get under his skin. And in a pretty cringy line, you've got J. Cole basically saying that Kendrick couldn't fight with him. He couldn't fight with the God because his arms are too short. But eventually, sometime later, J. Cole, you know, he had a change of heart. He was like, okay, guys, I saw the meme with Pennywise the Clown, and he said J. Cole is down here, and he cemented over it. And I also saw the meme where they said J. Cole is not down here, and someone climbs down into the sewers. And then he basically chose to pull that diss track from all streaming services, basically just saying that he regretted to do it in the first place.
Dreamville, y'all love Kendrick Lamar, correct? As do I. So I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, like, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly. And I pray that God aligned me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love.
Now, the funny thing is, J. Cole sampled a Meat Canyon video. He sampled the Wabbit Season video. So I find it pretty weird that you've got like incredibly famous artists and they're actually sampling like YouTubers. Now, with him pulling the track, you thought the white flag has been waved, the smoke signals have been put up in the air, world peace has finally been achieved. Nope, because 2 weeks later, Drake dropped his own diss track. Now, this was again directed at Kendrick. It was called Push-Ups and was leaked online. So there were two versions that were leaked online. One is just the original, and then the second one has no samples and it just has a very, very long outro, which was pretty funny at the time because it made a lot of people suspicious that Drake basically made an AI generated diss track. Like, if you couldn't be more lazy hiring all these ghostwriters, he basically just did like a chat GPT song. But when it dropped on streaming on April 19th, that's when everyone kind of realized, okay, this isn't a chat GPT song. Maybe. Now, the entire point of Push-Ups is basically to make fun of a viral video of Kendrick doing push-ups and then try to twist it, basically saying that other artists have to push up to get to Drake's level. That will probably do their own version of Tootsie Slide. Now, Drake couldn't go for the height diss or the you fell off diss because J. Cole already played those cards. So he now tries to pull the secret diss of, oh no, you're only famous because other people made you. Like, for example, Bad Bloods with Taylor Swift, basically trying to say that Taylor Swift made Kendrick. But Drake obviously thought to himself, no, that's not good enough. So I'm just going to copy J. Cole, and then went ahead and basically made fun of his height again, especially his shoe size. So yeah, you can see here throughout the song in the lyrics, like Drake just says over and over, basically Kendrick is just a manlet, as if that is just going to somehow debase his entire like artist career. And also he wears size 7 men's shoes. And again, throwing shade at Kendrick's mainstream collaborations. And then he does this kind of cringy thing where he basically throws up a lot of artist names, you know, that aren't even involved in this beef, basically saying that these people, they're doing better than you. Like Travis Scott, Lamau, 21 Savage, Lamau.
I've been in the hills, fucking dude.
And also SZA. Now, we have a new challenger entering in the rap fighting multiverse, and that is Rick Ross. You may know Rick Ross from the meme where he gets compared to a pear because of his quite large body shape.
I eat pears now and shit like that. Shout out to all the pear.
Well, he actually joined in on the conversation 2 days after the initial leak of Drake's diss track, and he released a song called Champagne Moments. And this was basically a direct response to Drake, basically saying, Drake, sweetie, good song and all, but you used ghostwriters. And basically trying to imply that Drake is some kind of e-beggar, that he basically released and leaked his own diss track for attention. Now, these claims are really, really embarrassing. Like, if anything, it reminds me of Rita Ora. This is another artist who's like not even related to this drama at all, but she actually did a tweet basically saying, if this tweet gets 100,000 likes, I'll drop a new song, only for it to absolutely bomb into a crater, and then her having to lie on Twitter basically saying, guys, I was hacked. And then Rick Ross also made this claim, which is genius, that Drake got plastic surgery specifically on his nose to look more white, and basically said that, you know, you're calling out Kendrick for being like a grifter and people big making him, but you'd be nothing without your mentors, specifically me, Rick Ross, and Lil Wayne. So the same day that Push-Ups officially releases, Drake puts out another song called Taylor Made Freestyle. Now, with the name Taylor in the beginning, I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. So this is Drake basically just doubling down, saying like, oh, all these collabs, bro, they made you, and then you sold out, which again is hilarious. Drake pointing the finger at anyone selling out, Mr. Steak, Mr. Aiden Ross Steak. And then he makes this really bizarre claim that like Kendrick is delaying his diss track on Drake because apparently Kendrick is waiting for Taylor Swift to like save him with her album release, that being the Tortured Poets department.
But now we gotta wait a fucking week because Taylor Swift is your new top, and if you about to drop, she gotta approve.
And again, this is just a Drake yap fest, yada yada yada, you know, saying Taylor Swift made you, bro, she made you, all the Swifties, they made your career. And the thing is that was really cringe about this diss track is Drake obviously got accused of using AI in the past, but now he actually did use AI. He used AI-generated voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg. Tupac's estate in particular was really, really pissed off because, you know, big shock, Tupac is dead, and Drake didn't actually get any permission to use his voice to basically snide Kendrick. You can see the lyrics here, and it really is just Drake doubling down the entire time, just saying that Kendrick is basically the biggest Swiftie imaginable. Now, Drake is basically playing on the Taylor Swift fear factor, because if you didn't know, Taylor Swift Swift is pretty popular. Everyone likes to hate on Taylor, especially men, definitely men, because if you've seen the majority of the Taylor Swift fan base, she probably has more female fans than Curtis Connor or James Marriott. And Taylor has so much influence that what a lot of artists do is actually delay their album drops because they know that when Taylor drops, it's going to be huge and all the attention's going to be on her. And this is a really common thing in like the movie industry, the video game industry. When they know that like a bigger creator is dropping something, people will rush to get theirs out first, or they will delay it indefinitely because they don't want to be caught up in the tidal wave because, you know, they've spent so long working on a project only to be drowned out by the tidal wave of Swifties. And it's also important to note that Taylor Swift's album did actually drop in between Drake's diss track Push-Ups and then Kendrick's response Euphoria. But again, there's not really any proof that Kendrick basically waited for that. But like I said, Kendrick came out with a diss track Euphoria 10 days later. This is a song that opens up pretty normally, but it becomes like more aggressive and eerie as it goes on. And it basically accuses Drake of being someone who is just obsessed with fame. He can't get enough of it. And how he also appropriates parts of black culture for his own personal gain. And if you couldn't tell, Euphoria is actually another jab at Drake, the title Euphoria, because Euphoria was a TV series done by HBO and A24 that Drake was actually an executive producer on. And you probably think, why would Kendrick bring that up? Because Euphoria is a very successful show. It's got incredibly high ratings. Well, Euphoria itself did come under a lot of fire for how it's, you know, sexualizing teenage girls and also kind of bridging that gap between the accusations of Drake also having, you know, relationships with younger girls.
Man, it doesn't matter if you 15, my nigga. I like young girls.
Millie Bobby Brown, please come to the court. Now, this is where Kendrick goes absolutely brazy. He goes like full rent mode and is not holding back, basically saying he just hates everything about Drake in general. And he also references an interview from a late rapper DMX, who in a similar cadence basically just says like, you know, Drake, I don't like that guy very much.
What about Drake? You like Drake?
No, I don't like anything about Drake.
He also goes on to say he really doesn't like when Drake doesn't directly name drop him in his music, but more like kind of a snide, a subtweet. And then, like I said earlier, goes on about how, you know, Drake apparently appropriates black culture for his own gain. Because Drake, for example, is nowhere near as politically active as Kendrick is. And then to complete the cycle, he throws a bit of shade at J. Cole, basically saying that his album, Mr. Morale, is as much of a classic as any album he's done in the past. And then says that J. Cole basically has no albums on that level whatsoever. He then makes this threat basically saying, you know, like, guys, we better settle down because things could get heated, saying that they should wear head protection if this keeps on going. You know, also being a reference to Daft Punk because the two artists behind Daft Punk, they would wear like these huge robotic helmets before they retired. And I do find that kind of funny, you know, saying wearing head protection like they're gonna get shot. But in my mind, I kind of just think of like someone dropping like a comedically sized piano on top of them. To be fair though, if you did drop a piano on Drake, he would actually survive it. He'd pop out, he'd have a comedically sized bump come out the top of his head, and then when he goes to smile, his teeth are replaced with piano keys. Now, jumping to May the 3rd. May the 3rd, 2024 was an important day because it was apparently International Leopard Day and World Asthma Day. It was also National Lumpy Rug Day. Who makes up these days, man? So Kendrick released a track 616 in LA. And the funny thing is, he could have posted this everywhere, but he exclusively posted it on Instagram, knowing that Drake would see it, but not the entire world would see it. Almost to like bait him out. Basically saying in the video, if you retaliate to this, it is battleships, bro. It is over. It is doomsday. I'm going to drop all the information I have on you. And this on purpose puts Drake in a really bad position. Does he address it and then risk the chance of more information coming out? Or does he ignore it, but over time, it'll slowly get around that people have seen this and they'll call him a bitch boy. Now, Kendrick was definitely playing mind games on him because this basically dropped straight after the Euphoria track. And this is actually mimicking beef that Drake had with another rapper, Meek Mill. And in that beef, Drake dropped two diss tracks, pretty much back to back. Well, one of them was actually called Back to Back, and then the other was called Charged Up. And these were within 4 days of each other. And he did this on purpose as a bit of a psyop to basically not give Meek Mill enough time to respond to the first diss track by the time the second one dropped. Also, one thing I didn't mention earlier about the whole connection between Kendrick and the, you know, the tailor-made freestyle. Kendrick actually collaborated with one of Taylor Swift's go-to producers, that being Jack Antonoff. Hence why Drake is kind of making that diss. And this is it. This is where the bomb drop. I'm sure you've seen that scene in Fallout 3 where you see Megaton get absolutely nuked. That bomb, that bombshell, all that negative karma. This is where Drake responded with the 7-minute diss track, Family Matters. As General Shepard said in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
History is written by the victor.
Drake was not the victor on this one. Drake basically was playing Heavy Rain and fumbled every single QuickTime event imaginable. So he basically tries to refute both the diss tracks that Kendrick made in quick succession, and he includes a music video of the Mad City Dodge Caravan just slowly being crushed in Drake's home country of Canada. Now, the track's title and cover art, Family Matters, it's basically a direct reference to the sitcom Family Matters from 1989. And Drake makes some very bizarre allegations in this video without any kind of proof. Like, for example, Kendrick domestically abusing his wife, and also saying, you know, what Kendrick accused Drake of in the first place, that you, Kendrick, actually have a ghostwriter. And again, I never got this cope with like famous people having ghostwriters. It's almost like saying a YouTuber has an editor and they don't, you know, make all the content themselves. Like, for example, with me, we have Para Live, we've got Paracynical TV, Paracynical Clips, the main channel. There will be a video on that very soon, by the way. There's no way that I could run all of these projects by myself. It's impossible. But still, to some people, it seems that as soon as you find out that there are people behind the scenes that are helping, it's almost like the illusion is shattered, which I've never really understood that. And then Drake explicitly calls out Dave Free, who's apparently the real father of Kendrick's son. By the way, if you're wondering for context, Dave Free is the former president of Top Dog Entertainment, which was Kendrick Lamar's former label, as well as the current co-founder of the PG Lang record label. So Drake is basically trying to address the claim that Kendrick made against him, bringing like his ethnicity into question by basically throwing Kendrick's wife in the mix. And he also goes on to say that there aren't that many pictures of Kendrick and his son together. Basically, long story short, trying to just build the narrative that Kendrick is a deadbeat dad. Now, I've mentioned that these diss tracks are coming fast and quick. 20 minutes is all it took, and Kendrick immediately dropped a new diss track called Meet the Grahams. I got a feeling he was sat on this for a while. He was just waiting for Drake to drop his diss track so Kendrick could immediately put his out as well. Now, this diss track is a lot darker. For comparison, this is as dark as those dark fantasy AI-generated images that you see all over your TikTok page. So this isn't Kendrick going after Drake. This is Kendrick going after Drake's son to basically attack Drake indirectly. And also, he throws in that Drake apparently has an alleged daughter that no one knew about. He brings up loads and loads of serious allegations that have just basically never been documented before. So what Kendrick did here is basically similar to what Pusha T did to Drake back in 2018. You know, Pusha T's track basically brought Adonis into the light, and Drake was like, oh yeah, Lamau, I have a kid, guys. Look how happy we are. Look at this picture of me and my son that I did not try to hide. But yeah, Kendrick is really trying to push this narrative that Drake apparently has a daughter and might even have some other kids that were just, you know, never mentioned before. Almost like Drake just seems to have in his mansion this like Minecraft villager spawner of just his children. Like there are so many unaccounted children. And he also goes on to say that Drake apparently had an addiction to prescription pills and has sexual predators working for him in OVO sound. I'll be honest, I'm that addicted to video games. When I hear someone being addicted to prescription drugs, I just think of Max Payne. Now, Drake was probably recovering at this point. He was licking his wounds clean. Bro, Kendrick didn't even wait a day and immediately dropped another diss track. So this one was called Not Like Us, and this delves a little bit more into the allegations that Drake had apparently had, like, you know, sexual predators working at OVO Sound, as well as just straight up calling Drake a pedophile. Like, I don't even mean that as like a bit or it's implied. He just straight up says it in the lyrics.
Certified lover boy, certified pedophiles.
So if you didn't get the bit, it's pretty obvious that Kendrick is trying to mock one of Drake's older albums, Certified Lover Boy. Now, I'm pretty sure most people know this, but the cover for this diss track is a picture of Drake's mansion, his Giga complex, referred to as the the embassy. And if you're wondering what all those markers are, like the one single lion player in 6 Siege to actually pick someone up on a scan, it's actually pings from the sex offenders registry that have been edited into the image to basically imply everyone in the embassy is a little bit dodgy. Now, prior to all of this absolutely legendary beef, there was a conflict between Drake and popular producer Metro Boomin.
Metro Boomin, make it boom.
So Drake's last record produced by Metro Boomin was called More M's with 21 Savage. Again, 21 Savage, the guy that did the card game with Aiden Ross and Cheated. Now, this was released around a year and a half prior. Now, on that track, Drake dissed Metro Boomin. And since then, they've basically had like a bunch of spats on social media, you know, going back and forth. A little bit of snarls, a little bit of jabs, some subtweets, nothing insane. So then Metro ended up tweeting this: the best verse over this gets a free beat. Just upload your song song and hashtag BBL Drizzy beat giveaway with a SoundCloud link. Now, this is a beat to a roughly 3-minute track, and the goal of the track was to basically roast Drake as much as possible. Now, in the background of the track, you got this woman like soulfully singing BBL Drizzy over and over, and that's a nickname that basically caught on when Rick Ross in his Champagne Moments track was basically sniding Drake. Regardless how you feel about Drake, he's making a lot of enemies right now, and funnily enough, I've been caught in the crossfire because that BBL Drizzy, because that was a sample that anyone could use online. One of my mates, Dolan, actually ended up doing a diss track on me, which I reacted to.
Yes. Live, but it's all pre-recorded.
I thought he did a really good job with this, and I said to him, I was like, you should actually take up rapping. But I think he's using like a Juice WRLD filter or something.
Those are my content, but he still gets rewarded. I don't want to vent, but how's he not reported? Admits he likes inflation, but he just can't support it.
Okay, we've established so many times that it isn't inflation. Now, if you look up that hashtag right now, BBL Drizzy, there are so many diss tracks being used, like even in like different languages. This is like a meme or a roast that has just transcended continents. Now, this is when Drake released yet another diss track on Kendrick. Like, this is basically just like Wii Tennis. It's never gonna end. It's called The Heart Part 6. So this is basically where Drake goes, nuh-uh, that didn't happen, nuh-uh. And then also going on to say that like he likes all this drama because it's like a good writing exercise for him. You know, it's like, I don't have a ghostwriter, guys. I don't have one, I promise. And then also yet again bringing up the whole infidelity between Kendrick Lamar and his wife, you know, Whitney Alford and Dave Free, which is again like, you know, brought up in the literal album art of the roast. Now, I feel like I should not be the one to do this because as I'm recording this video, I'm currently listening to AAA Powerline by Echo 2K. But it's important to note that Drake got quite a lot of stuff wrong. He misinterpreted a lot of things. So first of all, Drake is basically saying that Kendrick is someone that supports R. Kelly. You know, you've got the lyrics here. If they're still bumping R. Kelly, you should thank the savior. So Drake is basically trying to accuse Kendrick of moving a lot of his songs off of streaming platforms in 2018, apparently in support of R. Kelly. Now, this is way back when Spotify removed XXXTentacion's music and also R. Kelly's. Specifically, by the way, the music was not entirely removed. It was removed from their algorithm and also editorial playlists, mostly because of the, you know, sexual abuse allegations around each one. Now, Kendrick removing his songs in support of like R. Kelly, that was basically proven false. And it was more around the censorship of Spotify itself. It wasn't because, you know, Kendrick was supporting R. Kelly. And the worst thing is as well, this isn't like an old tweet of Kendrick being like, no, I didn't do that. That wasn't me. This was the head of TDE, Andrew Tiffith. And he also throws jabs at one of Kendrick's songs, Savior, on the Mr. Morale and Big Steppers, a song that is meant to entirely focus on how we idolize people way too much. Now, there's another lyric that Drake has like really misinterpreted here, basically spreading misinformation that Kendrick himself is the victim of sexual abuse. And that's apparently why he's so obsessed with trying to out Drake as a pedophile, almost as like a way of retribution. And if you think that's a reach, I mean, look at the actual lyrics that Drake is saying here. And again, to clarify, Drake is talking about another song on the Mr. Morale and Big Stepper called Mother I Sober. And this song is Kendrick at a very emotional state. He talks about his traumas, how it's affected his upbringing. You know, to give a bit more context as well, Kendrick is someone who said himself he is completely teetotal. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do alcohol, mostly because during his upbringing, he was around a lot of people that were addicted to a lot of substances. But Drake has used that as a bit of a reach to basically say that Kendrick was sexually abused himself. But if you listen to the song and you pay attention for more than 2 seconds, you can realize that Kendrick is talking about his mother being abused, not Kendrick. Because the Mother I Sober song basically goes into how so many rappers during their childhood, they do experience sexual abuse. And Kendrick's mother was concerned that Kendrick would face the same experience as well. There are loads of rappers that have opened up about this, by the way. You've got Denzel Curry, Lil Wayne, Common. These are all rappers that have been open about their, you know, childhood sexual abuse. And they've tried to turn that trauma into a message through their music. Now, obviously, because of this and the way that Drake misinterpreted so many of the lyrics, he has had... I've never seen a bigger backlash in my life. Literally everyone is attacking Drake right now. Now, I'll be honest, as an outsider, from someone that doesn't listen to rap too much, I genuinely did think that this was all staged. It was like, you know, people plotting in the back rooms, like, ooh, how do we blow up, guys? How do we make this viral? It really does jump that shark to the point where, no, it can't be faked, because like at the minute, Drake is losing so much credibility. Now, even though at the time of recording this video, there have been no more diss tracks dropped, surprisingly, there have been a lot more developments. So a literal day after Drake's last diss dropped, there was an incident outside his embassy, where one of his security guards was injured. Now, Drake wasn't harmed at all, but the security guard did have to be hospitalized. And when the police chief was asked about it in an investigation, he basically said that he doesn't know if this is actually linked to the Kendrick and Drake beef or not. Now, it is pretty scary when the police can like neither confirm nor deny it, but also the timing related to that is pretty crazy. But then also that same day, on the other side of the pond, the OVO flagship store in London was actually vandalized, with someone going ahead and spray painting "They Not Like Us" on the front of the shop, you know, referring to the Not Like Us chorus. And then a day after Drake's security guard was attacked, someone actually tried to break into Drake's embassy. Now, this guy didn't manage to do any damage. He was quickly arrested and then hospitalized, and Drake was also unharmed in the incident. But honestly, like being attacked like outside your home twice in a row, 2 days in a row, that would shake up anyone. Now, what always happens in these kinds of dramas is people tend to dig up a lot of old things that the creator has done in an attempt to kind of like slander them or to always prove that they were a bad person. Like, for example, the whole line about, you know, Drake liking them a little bit younger. People have pulled up, for example, this clip of him basically singing underneath a giant sperm cell. And then a lot of people obviously started to bring up the Millie Bobby Brown stuff, because Millie Bobby Brown and Drake would, you know, apparently frequently text each other, which is something that Millie Bobby Brown has said herself multiple times.
I love him. I met him in Australia, and he's honestly so fantastic and a great friend and a great role model. You know, we just texted each other the other day, and he was like, "I miss you so much." I was like, "I miss you more." He's coming to Atlanta, so I'm definitely gonna go and see him. I'm so excited. Yeah.
You and Drake? That's awesome. That's awesome.
What advice does he give you? Like, what does he say?
About boys. He helps me.
What?
Yeah. He's great. He's wonderful. I love him.
What's his advice with boys?
You know, that stays in the text messages.
You know, some of these texts going back and forth saying like they miss each other. And this was something that was weird at the time. People kind of forgot about it. But now with this Drake beef, it's been dug up again. And then people have started to look into certain artists that were commissioned with OVO sound. For example, Travis Savory. This is someone known as Baka Not Nice. And he was with Drake's record label, you know, OVO Sound. This is back in 2014. And Baka was actually arrested and charged with prostitution and human trafficking. Now, like I said, overall, Drake is definitely caught on his heels on this one. This is not like a split debate. Drake has been absolutely demolished, and Kendrick is basically just doing the Dark Souls pointing down emote at him. It really does go to show, like, if people come together, it's very easy to make someone hated. And I think as well, in another aspect, Kendrick is someone who is insanely popular, but he's not on that Drake level, because Drake kind of has the I don't know how you say it, I guess the kind of more like mainstream normie audience, you know, the stuff your mom might put on in the kitchen after a glass of wine. So yeah, what's gonna happen next? My response, Drake edition.
Certified, too much. Is it true that you're gay, or is that just a rumor?